Welcome to Dairy Pod, a podcast series from Dairy Australia. Featuring a range of experts, each episode offers insights into Australia's unique dairy farming conditions, as well as personal experiences and the latest in dairy innovation.
Welcome to Dairy Pod. My name is Rivkeh Haryono and I'm a senior nutrition scientist at Dairy Australia. I'm a registered nutritionist and I've got a research background in food and nutrition. I work in our human health and nutrition team. Our goal is to ensure dairy foods are seen as part of a healthy and sustainable diet. And so I'm responsible for translating all of the complex science around dairy and all of the amazing health benefits into messages and activities for a range of different audiences, including policymakers and health professionals. So I'm here today to talk about the importance of looking after our bones, particularly for those in their 20s, and what better time to do that than Healthy Bones Action Week, which is, of course, this week. So this year, Healthy Bones Action Week is running between the 12th to the 18th of August. It's a long-running Dairy Australia community initiative and aims to educate Australians about the importance of bone health and the things we need to do to build and protect our bones. Every year, we encourage Aussies to do 3 key actions to protect their bones, and this includes engaging in weight-bearing exercises, so things like running or walking, getting enough vitamin D through safe sun exposure, and of course, getting enough milk, cheese, and yogurt every day. According to our national eating recommendations, most Aussies should be having about 2.5 serves of dairy a day, but 9 in 10 Aussies actually don't get enough, so that's a pretty huge stat. Our priority this year is to get the message out to young women between the ages of 18 to 25 because it is such a crucial time for building strong bones. We actually conducted a survey in this group and it revealed that 94% of young women are not aware of their daily recommended serves of dairy. It also revealed that nearly 90% of these women believe taking action to build strong bones is important, so that's excellent. But compared to 7 other health concerns, including mental health and cancer, bone health rated as the lowest priority. So to speak with me more about bone health, I'm thrilled to be joined by 2 very wonderful guests today. So firstly, Dr Sandra Iuliano, who is an expert in healthy aging and a senior researcher at the University of Melbourne. And secondly, Celina Pellett, a dairy farmer in New South Wales and a wonderful young woman who fits our demographic for this campaign perfectly. So thank you both for joining me today. Celina, I might start with you. You're a dairy farmer. You play such an important role in producing milk, which is naturally packed with bone-building nutrients. Can you tell me a little bit about how long you've been dairy farming for, in which region, and what do you love about it?
Hi, thanks, Rivkeh. So coming from a non-agricultural background, I'd say I'm still relatively new to the industry, but I started working on the dairy farm in 2021, and I've thrown myself headfirst into pretty much every learning opportunity possible. I work in the Gloucester region of New South Wales, and I thoroughly love the lifestyle, the way in which it's a job with purpose in supplying to other Australians with its added health benefits, and also the variety of opportunities that the industry has provided me, such as coming on board as a Dairy Australia farmer ambassador, meeting other like-minded farmers, and being able to help bridge the gap between farmers and the consumers.
Now, you mentioned you've come from a non-agricultural background, so you haven't always been a dairy farmer, but you do have a really incredible story to tell about an accident you had. So you can tell us a bit more about what led you to this as a career.
Yep, so I grew up in New Zealand and my parents always encouraged me to take up different sports from hockey, basketball and swimming at school to either water skiing, sailing or mountain biking on the weekends, so very active family. I ended up falling in love with ballet and dance and that quickly became my priority, but then also outside of the studio, I love playing underwater hockey. So I started that back in New Zealand and picked it back up in Sydney when I moved down there in 2016. I then graduated from my diploma of dance December of 2017, was away in WA in January of 2018 competing at the Australian Underwater Hockey Championships on Team New South Wales. That was something really exciting for me, along with being selected for the Australian team for the Trans-Tasman tournaments. So to be then like lining up to be going head to head with some of the girls I used to train with back in New Zealand. However, on February the 27th, whilst in New Zealand for a family holiday, I decided to do what I did as a kid and go mountain biking. Unfortunately, on the last run of the day, whilst heading back to the car park, of course, I did have an accident and I sustained 3 spinal compression fractures and a cerebrospinal fluid leak out the back of my neck. Over the next few years, I did dabble in a couple of different careers, fell in love with outdoor leadership and being a school camp instructor. But with COVID-19 and moving to the Gloucester region, I found myself asking for a job at one of the local dairy farms. Despite being absolutely terrified of the cows at first, I was welcomed with open arms and I've loved every opportunity since.
That is the most incredible story with how you ended up in dairy farming. And I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about your accident in a moment. But Sandy, I might hand over to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background in research and what you do now?
Yeah, look, my background is both exercise, physiology and nutrition. So I'm a really big advocate for a healthy lifestyle. So Celina, I get what you're doing and I love what you're doing. And my research has actually spanned the whole lifespan. So my initial work was with children and bone growth. And that's why this is, I suppose, why that period of time is so important, especially during adolescence. And then I did work in adults in Antarctica because they're sunlight deprived, which is one of your key messages. And now my work is in the older adults because we're living longer. And you mentioned, Rivkeh, like the concerns. If we live longer, we're more likely to end up with osteoporosis because we've created good cures for other things. So, a heart attack can be rectified. Cancer can be treated, and so the chances of getting osteoporosis is a lot more because we're living longer.
Yeah, now, Sandy, Celina's story, just thinking back to that, it's pretty incredible. I mean, such a shame to have such a big accident when she was so young. But can you tell us a little more about bones with your expertise in this area? Why are our bones so important? How do we actually build strong bones throughout lives? And what can we do to protect and maintain healthy bones, thinking, we need them throughout our lives, as you say, as we're getting older?
One of the key things that we don't realise, or a lot of people don't realise, is that the only time you can lay bone down is when you're growing. And so people often get into middle age and think, oh, gee, I better worry about my bones now. It actually what you do as a child and as a teenager and around that age, when people are younger is when we need to consider what are we doing and what are we doing to maximise our bone. We know around puberty, so we all remember puberty when, if you've got kids of your own or yourself when you went through it, you see this massive growth spurt. And that growth spurt, when we look at 2 years around that growth spurt, we lay down a quarter of our bone at our hip. So we know this period of time is critical to maximise what we can lay down. We call that peak bone mass. So the bone grows in length and then it grows and consolidates. And that consolidation continues on through your teens and into your 20s. So that period of time is the only time from birth to when we stop bone accrual that we can actually lay bone down. So that's why that period is so critical. So the two things, obviously enough calcium, and dairy is the best source, but also weight-bearing exercise. So what Celina was doing was spot on. All these activities, weight-bearing exercise and enough calcium from your dairy, and that's really what we're after.
Yeah, so Sandy, on that, in our Dairy Australia survey, we surveyed around 400 men and women. And what we found was that the younger women were more likely to consume non-dairy sources for their calcium, so things like broccoli, fruit and almonds were the top responses. So what are your thoughts on these findings? I mean, what could this mean for the bone health of young women? And how do milk and other dairy foods stack up compared to these alternative sources of calcium for bone health? You mentioned calcium so important, but what about these other sources?
One of the key things, for example, if I have a glass of milk, I need 600 grams of broccoli.
That's a lot.
So to make up this equivalent of a glass of milk. So do we eat that much? And it's unlikely. So if they're using it as a source, but they're only having one serving of broccoli as the equivalent, they're actually 5 servings down. So it's about understanding, how much calcium's in it, how available is the calcium. So often it's in there, but it's not actually quite available. So it's often it's what we call chelated. So it's attached to another compound that makes it impossible to break. And if we can't break that calcium off, then we can't absorb it. So it just goes out. So there's lots of little things like that. And some of the alternative products, one of the key things, there's 2 aspects, like there's awesome nutrients in dairy. The 2 key ones I'm going to focus on is the protein and the calcium. Now, when we look at some of the alternative milk, some of them have almost no protein in them. So again, protein is building and we need it to build. Generally, we get enough, but if they're not consuming those types of foods, they're not actually going to get enough protein. And also the calcium is often different. So often these products have the calcium added. Depends on what form they've used. It may not be as bioavailable as if it just came from natural dairy foods. So there's lots of factors like that we need to consider, not just what it says on the label and what we think we can access, because we can't always access that calcium from the sort of the non-dairy sources.
Yeah, just reflecting on, one of your comments about the volume of food you need to match that same amount of calcium in a glass of milk, it's probably really costly as well. Thinking about this age group, young women, they might be at uni or, doing part-time jobs. So that's probably not really a sustainable solution either.
Yeah, I did some work on that and I looked at it. So I think broccoli at the moment is around $6 a kilo. And so they're going to have to eat, sort of almost $4 worth of broccoli to get the calcium. But a glass of milk is, currently like $2 a carton, so it's 50 cents.
Yeah.
So look at your costing, it's about 8 times more. And they're things you've got to consider. Like if it's going to be more expensive, it's going to be harder to do. So if they eat less of it, then they're not actually getting the calcium they need.
Yeah, milk is such an incredible, affordable source of nutrients. So yeah, good to think about that. Now, Celina, coming back to your accident, are you actually more conscious of your bone health now? And, it's clear that that age group is not one that's always thinking about their bones, and it's often, until something happens, that's when we're actually concerned about it.
Yeah, so I believe coming from like the dance and the sport background, I have been extremely lucky. Like I have always been made aware about making the conscious effort to fuel my body correctly. Like my dad's always said, if you don't put fuel in the engine doesn't work. And obviously that's also making sure it's the right type of fuel. But after the accident, my focus was on recovering as fast as possible to be able to get back to doing things that I loved. And that meant ensuring that my intake of calcium was adequate to what I needed, along with not just the exercises and rehabilitation, like it all correlated together. But yeah, I'm definitely aware I have put my body through a lot. So there's the conscious effort of my bone health other than just consuming the dairy products because I enjoy them.
Thinking back to the role of dairy foods, Celina, was consuming dairy a big part of your childhood? Was it even part of your recovery? And, I'd love to know about how you incorporate dairy into your day now. I'm assuming because you're a farmer, you love it.
Oh, absolutely. I tend to be known actually as like a fussy eater or a plain eater. So even as a kid, I love dairy products. Was generally actually always asking for more, but still to this day, a bit weird, but still to this day, I'll walk into a cafe and I'll ask for a glass of milk with my meal. I get a lot of weird looks, but I don't like coffee and I don't know, I just like a glass of milk with my meal. So, but yeah, as I previously said, like I wanted to get back into doing things I loved faster after the accident. So making sure that my dairy increased. So at that time, and it's kind of continued, as I said, I'm a fussy eater, so my habits haven't really changed. But I'd have yogurt on my muesli in the morning. I then started drinking like my protein shakes with milk instead of water. Definitely had a lot of cheese. I'm terrible. I think most of the cheese that would be cut or grated didn't even make it to my plate. I'd be eating it before actually putting it on my meal. And then obviously another glass of milk with dinner, hands down. As I said, can't really say that my habits have changed, except I'm still not really a breakfast person, and especially getting up to go to the dairy it's so much easier for me just to have a couple of protein up and goes. Throughout the day, I'll end up having like celery and cream cheese as one of my snacks. Still have my protein shakes with milk. And then like when I get home from work, because it's generally later in the afternoon or like 8, 9 o'clock at night, I will have like just a little pot of vanilla yogurt either before or after dinner, and still milk with dinner. So I think being a fussy eater has kind of led me more towards the dairy products as well.
Yeah, I think you're definitely the perfect fit as a farmer ambassador, because I think you're well and truly exceeding those 2.5 serves that you need a day. So excellent to hear, and good to have some inspiration for how we can all incorporate dairy across the day as well. So just to finish up, as a reminder for our listeners, we want Aussies to engage in 3 key actions for Healthy Bones Action Week. So engaging in weight-bearing exercise, consuming calcium-rich milk, cheese and yogurt, and getting enough vitamin D through safe sun exposure. These things are important not just for young women who are our target audience, but right across the lifespan. So to finish up, just something fun to end the episode. A few questions. Celina, what is your favourite weight-bearing exercise sport?
I will always love dance, but currently absolutely loving playing netball. I play in our community twilight competitions twice a year, so still keeping up the sport.
Yeah. Sandy, yours? I think I might know what the answer is to yours, but I'll ask you anyway.
I've been a runner since before all of you were born. So I snow ski, I run, I love being active. I've been active all my life, and it's not even what I do, it's who I am.
Yeah.
I can agree to that one.
Favourite dairy food, Celina? I might also know the answer to this too, unless you might surprise me.
I think I might surprise you because it is actually a tough one. But I can't beat a block of brie cheese and crackers, like just as a treat. But other than that, milk for every day.
Yeah. Sandy?
Oh, look, I'm a cheese lover. I make a really rocking birchen muesli, and it's just got yogurt in it, which is nice, but probably I'm a cheese girl.
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell me that your birchen muesli had cheese in it for a minute.
No. No, it's a really lovely, and Celina, this might work for you. It's a really good snack that you can just grab and go, because it's sort of relatively solid, so it's not going to spill. So if you got it in a container, it's not going to spill in your car as you're driving to work.
And finally, your favourite outdoor activity, Celina?
So mine, I'd probably say would be water skiing, although Sandra did just mention snow skiing, and they're kind of on the same par.
Sandy?
Oh, look, I'd probably go back to the skiing. It's just fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both for your time today. You are probably the 2 most active, sporty people I've ever spoken to. So I think you're going to inspire me to go take a run too later. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you both. For more information on Healthy Bones Action Week, please visit dairy.com.au/healthy bones. So thank you again, Celina and Sandy.
Thanks, Rivkeh.
Bye, Rivkeh.
Thank you for joining today's Dairy Pod episode. We hope you found it enjoyable and insightful. For more information, check out the episode notes. You can stay up to date by following Dairy Pod on your favourite podcast platform. To get in touch, visit dairyaustralia.com.au. Until next time, take care.